Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, it's another absolutely gorgeous day camping. I mean, the sun is shining, the skies are clear, and the water is nice and calm. And we've got a lot of news to talk about. So first up on the docket here, we're talking about EmuReady. Now, we talked about EmuReady, I think, yesterday in regards to Google Play and the difficulties that this app was having. So at a very high level, EmuReady started out and continues to be a community-driven hub for tracking emulation compatibility across devices, emulators, and platforms. And since then, EmuReady evolved into a little bit more. There's a free and paid version of the EmuReady app on Android. The EmuReady Lite app is the stable version, and the beta version contains some experimental features, and, well, there is a fee to that. Anyways, there's a little bit of controversy surrounding the paid version, as this paid version on the Google Play Store is not going to be the most feature-complete version moving forward. And that's because I guess Google has rejected it since it allows you to install emulator. So from my understanding here, the developer has tried to make some alternative compromises to ensure that people who paid money can still receive updates. If you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we've talked about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. And speaking about new stuff, next up here, we're talking about a brand new MAME front end. Brand new-ish, I guess a brand new iteration of a MAME front end. And this one is called Foreplay. It's a high-performance MAME front end, and it's a little bit controversial. So they say here, Foreplay, pronounced Foreplay, is a desktop keyboard-oriented GUI front end for MAME designed for high-end Windows 11 systems. It was conceived in 2006 and originally commissioned in 2011 by John Four, a member of the original MAME UI team. So if I scroll down here and take a look at the credits, here's where the arguably controversial part is. Creator and designer, 2006 to present, John Hardy 4. Initial development, 2011 to 2016, Matan Baraket. And modernization and AI pair programming, 2025, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, and Grok. So it seems as if this is a product of AI. The only release right now on GitHub is Foreplay and the snaps and icons. And if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, again, like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. Realistically, here, in my opinion, we're going to see more and more stuff that has been made with AI. I think this one, I'm curious to see where it goes moving forward. I'll say that. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about seeing where things end up and things moving forward, next up here, we're talking about GameHub Lite. Now, from my understanding, GameHub Lite is an unofficial version of GameHub. However, this has no telemetry, it's fully offline and fewer permissions, and even more. So the person behind this one says, yesterday I posted about how GameHub might be spying on its users and potentially using their data for shady purposes. The post got a lot of attention from the community. Many people are really concerned about GameHub and their privacy. This reception was roughly 70-30, and while most people agreed, a few weren't happy with what I shared. That's fair. Everyone has their own perspective, and I respect that. And they go on to say here, their goal is to push the GameHub team to listen to their audience and remove all unnecessary telemetry and permissions from the app. Their current progress so far: removed login and register system, removed PS-PC link option only visible in the UI now, removed contacts access, removed recording screenshot permissions, phones already have this feature. Removed location and nearby permissions and not needed for controllers to work, cleaned up multiple unnecessary permissions, and completely removed analytics. As for their notes, they say this project is still a work in progress and they're doing it in their free time. Please bear with them for slow updates, and they'll make a separate post soon with full details about what GameHub was actually accessing and where it was sending your data. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, but I've got a hunch here that GameHub Lite is going to be pretty popular. And I would argue it's kind of following along the same lines as Game Native. And speaking about stuff on Android, next up we're quickly talking about Qualcomm. And if you've got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite, you might be excited about this. The entire article is up on Phoronix. However, there's one area here I want to point out, and it's literally one sentence, but one sentence that may inspire hope for a bunch of people. And they say here, the Mesa OpenGL and Vulkan driver support for the Adreno 800 series is still being worked on and will be posted at a later date. Now, unfortunately, that's all I've got to go on at this point in time. I don't know when that future date is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be weeks or months or what exactly, but it does seem they are working on it. And continuing to talk about Qualcomm, next up here, we're talking about the upcoming Qualcomm Snapdragon X2 Elite. Now, we've talked about this chip in previous videos, and it seems the hype for this chip is continuing to be very present. I'm very curious to see how this chip performs in real-world scenarios, but right now, based on everything I've seen, I think a lot of people are expecting big things. So Ryan Strout from Signal65 says the Snapdragon X2 Elite Extreme is now the fastest laptop CPU that they've tested, 30 to 40% faster than Intel Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake. 40% uplift versus the Snapdragon X Elite, and only Apple's M4, M4 Pro are close. Now that was for single-threaded performance, and for multi-thread scaling, they say here 2 times faster versus Snapdragon X Elite. And furthermore, for the GPU throughput, they say 2.5 times faster GPU versus Snapdragon X Elite. I'm not going to lie here, I've got my eye on Snapdragon here in the laptop market, and I'm very curious to see what happens moving forward, and if ARM software continues to get better. And speaking about laptops, next up here, we're talking about something that was a bit surprising to me for a couple of different reasons. We're talking about Redmagic, and it's being reported that Redmagic is set to launch an RTX 5090 gaming laptop alongside their Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phone. So the first thing I'm surprised about is that Redmagic isn't going the ARM route, considering they've already got that relationship with Qualcomm for the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. I figured an X2 laptop would have made sense as well. And secondly here, they're going with Intel, the Intel Ultra 9 275HX instead of AMD. Anyways, this one is called the Redmagic Titan 16 Pro. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. And speaking about gaming stuff, next up we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation with PCSX2. And if you like to use PCSX2 and retro achievements in hardcore mode, you may want to pay attention to these updates. So with one of the most recent updates to PCSX2 here, they have hardened retro achievements hardcore compliance. And this means they've fully blocked save state loading, frame advance, and cheats when hardcore mode is active, disable loading state UI buttons while in hardcore mode, and standardize on-screen display warnings for most hardcore restrictions. And continuing to talk about PlayStation emulation, but going up one generation and talking about PlayStation 3 emulation with RPCS3. And RPCS3 version 0.0.38 has been released. Now, we have talked about some of these updates in previous videos, and I'm assuming there's going to be a very meaty report coming out pretty soon. But anyways here, since version 0.0.37, there's been 184 new commits, 355 source code files have been edited, 8,181 lines of code were added, and 3,648 were deleted, 24 code contributors, and 122 days of development. And yes, this is also available for Windows. And on top of that, RPCS3 now has Windows 11 themes, both dark and light. I prefer the dark theme by a running mile, but if you prefer the light theme, it's there. Let me know your thoughts. And continuing to talk about new releases, next up here we're talking about Atari Lynx emulation with Gearlynx. And Gearlynx has just published some brand new updates. Now, it is worth noting here that Gearlynx is still pretty early on in terms of its overall development. I mean, it's a pretty fresh emulator. Anyways, version 0.0.3 just dropped, and most recently version 0.0.4 just dropped. These are pre-releases, and they say here there may be bugs and unfinished features, and I would expect that given how fresh overall this emulator is. Again, if you're interested and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below. And speaking about fresh stuff, next up we're talking about Mania, which just received an unofficial fan DX treatment. And I would say, taking a look at this YouTube video, that the end results are really, really nice. I think this looks great. Now, if you've never played Mania before, I don't want to say it's a niche game, but it's not necessarily the most popular game, but it is a pretty neat game. It's a puzzle game that was released for the original Game Boy. And I think it should have received a natural DX treatment. At least it kind of is now. And speaking about stuff that arguably should have been there initially, next up here we're talking about the DualSense controller. And if you're a fan of the DualSense controller but haven't picked one up yet, or if you're thinking about picking one up with a removable battery, well, you might be excited about this announcement. This is just rumor, it's not confirmed just yet, but sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And Sony is reportedly set to release an updated PS5 DualSense controller with a removable battery. Now, I've got no idea what prompted PlayStation to make this change, but I am all for it. A removable battery in a DualSense controller I think would be absolutely amazing. Let me know your thoughts about that. It's also rumored that the new PS5 Pro is going to use 3% less power compared with the original. So overall here, both this new revised PS5 Pro, which we've talked about in previous videos, as well as this new DualSense controller with a removable battery are set to launch at some point in November. I'm not necessarily certain if this will be a global launch or restricted to certain areas, but I think that battery removable DualSense controller is going to be popular. And speaking about regional stuff and availability worldwide, next up here we're talking about Dead of the Brain 2. Now this is a Japanese game that's been translated into English. The previous one, Dead of the Brain, was translated I think back in something like 2023, and now Dead of the Brain 2 has been translated. This game was originally released back in 1998 for the PC-98. And, well, if you're into horror games and visual novels, this may be up your alley. And speaking about games that might be up your alley, next up here we're talking about NightVein, which is a new Sega Genesis Mega Drive game that's currently a work in progress and just received a brand new demo. Now, I haven't checked this one out myself yet, but it's on my radar and I'll probably give it a look sooner rather than later based on the trailer here. I mean, I think if this game was released on the Mega Drive back in the day, it would have been hugely popular. It looks great and looks like it plays great. And speaking about looking great, next up here, we're talking about some brand new shoes from PlayStation and Reebok, and there seems to be a very interesting collab that has some regional exclusives. Full details are up on the Gamer if you're really interested in these things. I guess the Reebok Workout Plus is a UK exclusive. The Reebok Pump Omni Zone 2 is a US exclusive, and then the Reebok Instapump Fury 94 is a Japan exclusive. Overall, I'm a little disappointed there are no hiking boots for obvious reasons, but at the same time here, these look kind of cool. And speaking about looking cool, last up here, we're talking about InMost, which is being developed by Chucklefish Limited. It's a brand new mobile game headed to Android and iOS. You may recognize Chucklefish from big games like Starbound, and also publishing big games like Stardew Valley. Now, from my understanding, this one is a free to try and then pay to buy, I guess. If you want the full game, you got to pay for it, but the demo is free. And I'll probably be checking this one out as well because it looks very interesting overall, very fascinating. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. This was a shorter video than normal. I've still got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. It's just we got home from camping. I've still got a ton of stuff to do, and I'm a little bit behind on literally everything else. So this one was short and sweet, and hopefully you enjoy it. We talked about a few things. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.